good to see you too, man. Yes.
So it's been about 3 years to the day almost since we did our last meetup.
That's right.
On for Bass Musician Magazine, which we're doing today.
Yep.
And we're doing a tour touch bass.
Tour touch bass
With Ian Allison. So I have to ask, so you're out with Eric Hutchinson right now, right?
Yep.
That's really awesome. So tell me a little bit about that.
I've been in Eric's band now for almost 10 years.
Wow.
And COVID, of course, shut everything down, but we had just started to do a trio thing at that time. Mm-hmm. And so when we ramped back up, post-pandemic, we got the trio going again. So it's me, it's my dear friend Zach Miller on drums, of course Eric's at both these front stations playing acoustic, electric, and keys, juggling that stuff.
Wow.
And then we lost our guitar player. I mean, he moved on. We didn't lose him. He's still with us. He's still with us.
He's on this plane.
Yes. But it was a really fun challenge because Eric was like, hey, can you take a bunch of the solos? And so I was like, I don't know, maybe, right? And then,
opportunity.
Yeah, it was so fun. So I'm thinking this show for me is a little bit like, I'm absolutely a bass player most of the time.
That's awesome.
But there are then moments where I kick a sound and I'm wireless, so I'm coming up to the front and I'm in sort of like guitar player mode for some of it, which is really fun, actually.
That's awesome.
It reminds me of being a kid again and like running up to the front of the stage and hamming it up.
And you get the excitement of playing in front of people where you're moving around and you're able to like kind of step forward from that sideman role, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And that's always awesome.
Yeah, it's really fun, and it's not something you get to do very often as a bass player. So
absolutely.
Trying to look at it not from a fear lens, right, but from an opportunity lens.
And after 10 years, I'm sure there's that comfortability with the band that you're like, you've been playing with somebody for that long. It's like, hey, we know this stuff. We got that familiarity. Yep. You're rocking it. That's awesome. Yeah. That's awesome. So I know you were just at Olinto as well.
Yes.
You were up there. You did a master class there, right?
I did. Yes. It was up there. They had made me a bass a couple years ago. They were like, hey, could we make you an instrument to try to beat your 78 Antigua? Yeah. And I was like, that's like the nicest thing anyone has ever said to me in my life. So they built me a beautiful jazz bass. I don't have it here today. I just got it, and I don't know it well enough. I'm playing a different bass today, which I'll show you. But
I know about that one.
yeah, but it's really cool. It's sort of their take on Antigua. It's like gold.
I saw that. That was beautiful. I saw you post some photos on Instagram.
Yeah.
You're on Instagram. You're on Facebook.
Yep.
You're in all those places to kind of catch up with you and see that.
Right.
So that Olinto, I love that buffalo head nickel on there.
Oh, it's crazy. I know.
Dime, right? It's a dime or is it a nickel?
I think it's a nickel. It's a nickel. And someone had carved a skull into the buffalo. So it's like, man, it's really cool. And they just do, like, James Carbonetti is handling all the building now and the pickups that they wind.
Nice.
And the neck profile is beautiful. It's a really lovely instrument. Yeah.
I've seen them evolve over the years, and I mean, Labella's been around forever, right? Like no offense, they're my favorite strings in the world.
They're awesome
I love
strings.
Labella. I use them on uprights, electrics, everything, and they are awesome. So their bass platform is just as beautiful, right?
It's really cool.
That's awesome. I'm glad you have one. That's really cool.
Me too. And I couldn't believe it. I was like, it was a pinch me thing.
So when you put them next to each other, it was 77, right?
78.
78. Okay.
Yeah.
Up against the Olinto, does it feel like home, or does it feel?
It's very different, actually, but in an amazing way. I think the Olinto weighs 7.4 pounds.
That's light.
Body is thinner in a really cool way. The neck is a completely different profile, but so it's different. I love the old jazz bass. I love it. It's a bass that I learned how to hear a passive bass with. So it's always going to have a special place. But the Olinto is like better in by every metric.
I feel like the Olinto has like the cut on the armrest, like when the arm comes over, is a little bit nicer because I have a 69P, and that has like a little bit of a hard cut that you kind of have to get used to because it will put your arm to sleep. And I always feel like the jazz has kind of had that into the 70s too.
Interesting.
So I think the Olinto is like, because I think Mas Hino was still there back when they started moving those.
Right, that's right.
And that was kind of a detail.
Oh, that's cool. I actually didn't know that.
I believe so.
I'm sure you're right. Yeah. It's beautiful. It plays great. They even developed a new string. They're doing like a super polished round, so you got to check these out. They're the flats, the Alinto flats.
I love the flats. I have
Yes.
them.
Okay.
You got them. Then I saw it. I was like, I have to get
They're
these.
so good. And then they made a round version of it, but they're not rounds. They run them through this intense polisher and take all the edges, so
like
they
a
almost
flat round. Like
yes,
a flat round string.
Yes. So they almost feel like a flat, but they
Nice.
sound like rounds. They're crazy.
I think they used to call them ground round, right?
Yes, but ground, they run through a grinder, and they're kind of rough.
Yeah.
These are actually run through a polisher, and
awesome.
they're smooth. I sound like a rep. I'm not trying to. I just
don't worry about it.
They're really good, though. I couldn't believe it.
Anything Labella, I love anything Labella. I'm a big fan of theirs.
Yeah.
So it's like I've always loved their strings. I've been playing them since I was like 10.
Very
so a long time.
Yeah.
So anything they put out is always worth checking out.
Awesome.
So let's talk a little bit about your other role here, because you're also an educator. You're still working with Scott's bass lessons.
Absolutely,
right?
yes.
I see you. You're doing like meetups. You're talking to people. You're going out to the NAMM show.
Yep.
You're doing like you're kind of like the other face of Scott's bass lessons.
Scott likes to stay home. Scott likes to stay home, and so he's like, "You go." But I love it. I honestly, man, I love talking to people. I've been working for Scott now for I guess like officially full time for maybe 2 years, but kind of more as a contractor freelancer for probably 4 years. But he is a lovely guy. I love doing it, and I'm just about to go out to the UK to batch another 20 YouTube videos. Yeah, I go out 3 to 4 times a year.
Wow, that's awesome.
And we hang. We have such a good time. I mean, it's a blast.
So I have to ask, am I taller than Scott or shorter?
You're shorter. Scott's a pretty tall dude. Scott's he's 6'1", I think.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Damn, that's not fair. That's not fair.
I'm sorry. I answered that so quickly.
It's all right. Well, that's all right. That's okay. I'm about the same height as Victor Wooten.
There we go. Perfect.
That's a pleasure.
Yeah. That's great.
We're either really short or really tall. It seems like bass players.
No,
it's like stand next to Stanley Clark, and you're
Stanley's a tall
very
dude.
tall.
Yeah, right.
Even and Gerald Veasley too.
Yes,
very tall.
right.
So there's no in between.
Okay, got it. Yeah.
So that's awesome. So you've been doing a lot with Scott's bass lessons as usual. You're touring a lot, and this isn't your only gig. You work as a sideman with some other folks as well. And I see you record all the time, and you're doing a lot of session work. And you're using your pedals in a lot of really artistic ways.
Yeah, I try to. I find that now, more than anything in session world, I'm getting called to do the things that I love and almost make sounds. I'm asked to make parts and sounds more than I am asked to play fills or any kind of regular bass. It's so strange, man. I find that people want to use me when it's a distorted thing or there's a real tone target they're going for.
So you have a niche that they're kind of pulling for.
I guess so, yeah. I just worked on Corey Wong's last record that he did with Metropole Orchestra, and I'm the guy, I didn't do any of the funk stuff, but I came in when he needed a distorted Rickenbacker vibe. Okay. So it's very that cool kind of stuff, and I love that. And so, using effects and using different instruments to bring kind of a character sound to life.
That's awesome.
Is a big deal for me. It's what I love.
Yeah, it's sound design, right? Sound design with the bass.
Yes, that's exactly right. I love that very much.
That's awesome. Yeah. That's awesome. Well, Ian, I'd love to go through what you brought with you. Is it okay if we do that?
Of course.
Awesome. So I'm gonna the next part here. Let's talk about what you brought with you for this run.
Yeah. Okay. Great. So I've got a rented Aguilar rig back here, AG700. Which is just a super clean platform into their old DB410. I love this cab. It's heavy. I love it. I love the way it sounds. And you can see I'm not doing much. In fact, it's essentially just flat. I don't have deep. I don't have bright. I run it pretty quiet because front of house carries a lot of weight. So I'm not needing a lot of color out of my amp rig. And so it's as simple as can be back here for the rig. Yeah. And then in terms of the bass, I've got my bass, which I'm so thrilled about. This is made by Mike Lowe. It's called an IMA4. Seriously, man, it's just wild to have this instrument. We do runs of these, batched runs. They've been super successful. Essentially, what it is a combination of a jazz bass and a Thunderbird. So these are the proprietary Lull Thunderbird pickups that are modeled after Mike's, I believe, a 64 T-Bird, and they just sound incredible. And then this color I love. We call this color Fire Mist Lavender. and the whole thing is painted. It's kind of an homage to like the bass designs of like 80s and 90s. It's a really fun wood recipe too. So the pickups are sort of dark, but then we did lightweight, solid swamp ash. The neck is maple, ebony fingerboard.
The frets on that are beautiful.
The frets they make such an amazing bass. They really do. And then this giant oversized reverse headstock, which is just a little rock and roll.
Yes,
and I love it. I love it very much.
Very Thunderbirdish.
Yeah, right. Yeah. A little of that vibe, because that's in me. I was like a hair metal kid. I mean, I loved that. And then this is a strap that LK made for me. It's like a Blade Runner 2049 strap, which is one of my favorite movies of all time.
That's awesome.
I'm running then a Shure wireless down into this rig that we can check out here. So I'm just going into the Shure wireless, which is actually a fantastic tuner as well. But wireless because I'm running around the stage on this show. And then that actually signal feeds into the Origin stacked comp, which currently is my favorite compressor that they make. It's two 1176 circuits that you can blend. You could set up one side super fast and punchy, set the other side up really slow and sludgy, and then kind of blend in that second side. But then I also always have a bunch of dry. So I use mostly dry signal, and then I just get a really squishy compressed signal and push it into the dry signal. That goes into this, which is my favorite rectangle of all time, probably. HX Stomp, made by Line 6, of course. I have this Pedalnetic switcher on the top, and I always make presets for the different artists I go out with that have all the sounds that I need. So there's an octave pedal on it, right? There's just a very basic overdrive. Then this I call, grr with an exclamation point at the end. This is just regular grr, but this is serious grr, and it's more gain and an octave up. I can show you what that sounds like. Then I have an envelope filter here on this switch, and I have spring reverb and tremolo and a pitch up on this as well. So if I, and you know what, let's just go to the end of this too. So, and then that feeds into the Jadfrier Capo DI, which is a really lovely preamp. And I'm really, look at this. I'm really not using any of the EQ. It's essentially flat. I don't even use the gain of this. It's just a beautiful, clean DI that goes to front of house. So I don't EQ at all. There's zero EQ happening. Like I'm not boosting a bunch of bass or cutting a bunch of mid-range. There's nothing like that. It's flat, 100% flat. And I can run you through these sounds. I play a lot, sort of like regularly. I play mostly neck pickup on this instrument too. But then I've got a few things. So I also play with a pick with Eric, right? Oh, hold on now. That was the octave. Here's a drive sound. Right? I also have an octave pedal. Big lead sound has drive and then a little bit of octave up. So for playing, right, there's this whole different sort of like almost guitar-y. I use for leads, and I just love it. You can combine it with the octave or with the other drive. And it's just wild. And then, right, there's a bit of I use the Tron, which is the envelope filter, in conjunction with the drive. Thing is just spring into trem with a little bit of octave up. And so for doing there's this great like Spanish guitar solo on Watching You Watch Him, which is one of Eric's big like hit songs. Right, that kind of thing. And I love this sound. And so that's it. Those are the 5 sounds, and then in some kind of combos, but that's like the 5 sounds that I can use with him. And you had mentioned, Steve, that I hadn't brought a Noble out. It's because everything, I'm carry-on only. It's really important to me. I love to travel super light, so everything goes in this mono case, this backpack, and that tick, and that's it. I carry everything on the plane, clothes, everything, and that's how I do it.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for letting us catch up with you on tour. It's nice to touch base on tour.
Yeah, absolutely.
So is there anything else you want to let us know before we close out our meetup?
If you want to check out anything that I do, my community is on Instagram. You can check me out at Ian Martin Allison, and I just appreciate it. I try to get back to everybody. If you write me, I try to holler back at you. If you leave a comment, I'm going to leave a comment back. And I love it there. I think it's a really wonderful place. I'm trying to put good into the world on social media. So follow me there. And yeah, just a lot of records, a lot of stuff with SBL, stuff with Eric, just keeping it going.
So who are you listening to right now?
Oh, who am I listening to right now? I love Khruangbin. I'm listening to Khruangbin. There's a band from LA called The Midnight that I love, that I've been really loving. I've been jamming along with Pocket Change by Nate Smith. That record is incredible. Oh, and what else, man? You got me. We've been listening to a bunch of old 80s music in the Sprinter, and that's been really fun, kind of rekindling my love for like old Paula Abdul records. Shout out to St. Paul Peterson, Minneapolis, who was in the time, and a dear friend of mine who I think played a lot on that, did some production on that record. So looking forward, but also looking back to the greats, and I think the 80s was a great decade of music, actually.
Well, thanks for catching up.
Yeah.
I may not agree on that one, but
that's
hey,
fine, man.
It's all right.
Strokes, folks.
Hey, that's right. That's right. Well, thank you so much for catching up with us today at Bass Musician Magazine. It was really awesome for you to tell us all about what you brought on tour.
For sure.
And I hope that we don't wait 3 years again to catch up again.
Yeah, let's do it soon. Let's do it soon.
Thank you again for your time, Ian.
Yeah.